Welcome to the SOB radio show, where we have fun, interesting guests, and hot topics. Each week, we offer insights into music, fashion, health, fitness, and humor. Do you have the perfect guest for us to interview? I want to know. Drop me a line on our Facebook page at Spunky Old Broad 1 or reach out to me on our website at spunkyoldbroad.com. And now, back to the show. Well, we're back with Dr. Cheryl Scheurer, and she is a business person, a financial person, and someone who believes in doing things the right way. So, Cheryl, going back to your financial background and so forth, you went through all of this. The bankruptcy, a divorce, getting back on your feet. How and what did you learn through this horrendous challenge that will help somebody listening to this who probably is going through the same thing?
Well, God bless them. Well, I think it's important to take one step at a time, and stay in the present mindset. Don't go too far in the future, because I know that to me was my my cross. Was I was always thinking so far in the future that it's very stressful, and then when you're stressed, you can't think practically through what you need to do, or it's a lot harder to get through. So one step at a time. If you can get in your subconscious mind that there's more than enough, and there is more than enough. Unfortunately, in our society, there's 1% have the lion's share. 99% don't. So we, the people, need to change our attitude and our thinking around prosperity and wealth. And money isn't everything. But I live in a very expensive area, and it's not cheap to live here, but I've made that choice. So it's just taking one step at a time, having deep faith in what you're doing. And I think it helps when you have the mindset that you're helping others. I think that is the key ingredient. You're helping yourself when you're helping others. So to me, that is an extremely important thought process.
Well, that's true. And, you're saying you're living in an expensive area. I was listening to an NPR broadcast the other day, and they were saying that since many people, because of their college debt and a lot of other things, cannot scrape together the down payment for a home, especially since the house prices are rising, that many are renting, and because they're renting, the rents are so high they can't save any money to put. It's like a catch-22.
It is.
So how many children did you have, Cheryl?
I just have one daughter.
And what did she learn from all of this?
Well, I'll tell you, she's got the working. She's a working horse like I am. She knows how to support herself. She's got other issues, but she always has worked. And she's a chef. So she has done private chefing, etc. So I think her basic, now I'm not totally convinced that her skills with the budgeting is very good. I didn't think she was very good with the practical part of it. And I think she's had to learn that. But, I know that she has learned to take care of herself.
And that's what counts, because how she wants to live, how you want to live, how I want to live, maybe three totally separate ways of living. And so that's the point. I think that the message we need to get to people is whatever it is for you is okay.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be what somebody else has or how somebody else lives or what somebody else does. It's, do you wake up in the morning and are you happy? One of the things I have to say is that when I get up in the morning, it's with a smile. And when I go to bed at night, it's with a smile. And those are the important things to me. It's not, all the other things. In fact, it's interesting because my son is always saying to me, Mom, it's crazy that you do all these things at your age. And I said, well, what would I do? I'm not the country club type. I'm not let's go to lunch type. I don't like to be the shopping type. I like to do what I do, and I love it, and I'm going to continue to do it. And he said, I know that. He said, I just think you need to, settle down a little bit, he says. So I think it's interesting to look and say, what the future is going to hold. So let's talk about Cheryl's future. Here you are. You've got a finance background. You've gone through bankruptcy. You've raised a child as a single parent. You're living in a very nice area. You've got this TV show that you've done for 7 years. You're going to be launching a podcast. What does the future hold for Cheryl?
Oh, I'm so excited. I really am. I'm right now I'm establishing 2 core courses. And I mean, all the people I'm meeting, all the shows that I'm going to be on, that I am on, I just see the future. So the sun is coming over the earth, and that's part of my logo is the earth with the sun coming up and blasting you in your face. And that's how I feel. I'm very excited for the future because I feel like not that I'm totally in control of all the people around me. I wouldn't want to be, but I'm attracting the people that are, helping me, and then I'm helping them. That's what it's about, is helping one another, supporting one another.
Boy, that is so true. That is so true. And it's good to get excited about what your future plans are. And that's, I think, a message I want to get out to this listening audience of over 50 women. And that is the fact that it's just not over until it's over.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, it
right.
doesn't matter if you're 50, if you're 60, if you're 70, if you're 80, and even if you're 90. I know people who are in their late 80s, early 90s, even some of them in their mid 90s, and they're still vital and going strong.
Well, I'll tell you, I have one wonderful friend, Zora. She will be 92, and she's a psychologist. She still works. Her Mondays are her psychology days. She still has clients that come to her. I admire her. She's quick-witted. She's wonderful. I go to her. She's like a surrogate mom to me. She's in San Francisco. But that to me is inspiring because that's, like you, Gayle, I have that same, I'm in the same ballpark, so to speak. I don't want to hobnob with the socialites, because that's not that important to me. But making an impact, making a difference, and especially today, is to me the most important thing.
Yeah, my mom lived to 99 and a half, and she
Woo!
was, yeah, she was a pistol till the very end. Even when she was in the hospital, she was shouting out orders to everybody to make sure everything was taken care of back at the ranch. So, I have great hopes for a lot of years left to come. But I think it's important for our listening audience to know that whatever happens to you, and unfortunately, something's going to happen to us almost every day. There's a challenge, there's a stumbling block, there's an obstacle, there's a something. I mean, that phone can ring and your whole life can change. So it's important to have that, that intestinal fortitude, the guts,
A
to be able
strong
to stick with it.
constitution.
Right, exactly, exactly. So, and that's one of the reasons why the positive energy and the positive thinking and your mindset and so forth are so important because, there can be just anything that comes up that can just, take you off your game. So, I think that having that message for that special person over 50 who's listening is so key. So, tell us about your day, Cheryl. Tell us about what you do in a day so people get an idea of what your life is like.
Well, what do I do? Usually, the first thing I do is I meditate and I pray and I give gratitude. I think gratitude is the key to having grace and happiness. From there, I will go work out, and I can't do this every day, but I try to do this. I go on my bike for about 10 to 12 miles, and not every day, but I'm on a weight loss program right now, so I'm doing it every day. From there, I will check emails. I go to the studio a lot, and I also have my consulting. So, my days are full. But I also try to take care of me, emotionally and spiritually. So I take time first thing in the morning. That's what I do. So, whatever comes about, getting back to the goals and everything in that arena, I always say, and I know this is an old saying, and I love it, is, I'll shoot for the moon, but I'll settle for the stars. And I keep that mentality. I remind myself, because I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep going until my last breath. I'm going to keep learning until my last breath, and keep keep helping other people, especially change the mindset, because the mindset is the key. It really is the key, emotionally and mentally, is having that balance is extremely important to fulfill your goals.
Well, it's so true. I mean, balance is the thing, and of course, my whole thing about balance is that it's different for everybody,
Yep.
and it also changes in your own life. I mean, what my balance was. I mean, I've always been a person that did three things at one time. I'm just not. They don't. They say it's not good. It's not good to be a
Multitasker.
multitasker. But pardon? Yeah,
Multitasker.
multi. Yeah, they say it's not good, but that is who I am,
Yep.
and that's just the way I've always been.
I
However,
understand.
what my life was like growing up was one thing. What my life was like in college was another. What my life was like when I first came to Florida and I had my first business and was building that was another. Then when I got married and I had children, that was another, and so on and so forth. And then through the death of my husband, my son, all of that, my battles with cancer, all of that, it's a different balance changes.
Yep.
However, the important thing is to keep going no matter what. And
Absolutely.
it's you've said some things that I practice as well. I when I first get up, of course, my cats are calling, so I take care of my cats first thing. I do not meditate, and I don't meditate well at all. I try to, and then I get sidetracked. So I don't meditate well, but I do work out just about every day. And I work out a lot. I mean, I work out for 2 hours. So I usually
Good
take
for
an hour
you.
class and then I do my own 45-minute, 40-minute, hour, depends on which routine I'm doing for my weights and things like that.
Right, right.
And then, of course, I do my email. I try to do email when I first get into the office, and so forth. And then, of course, there's the coaching and the radio and the consulting and the speaking and all of that. But I am interested. What kind of consulting do you do, Cheryl? Who are the kinds of clients you have, and what kind of consulting do you do?
Well, it's the mindset. It's the mindset and applying practical application to handling your finances. Yep, that's
Isn't
that.
it, I find that so interesting because, I teach a course called Mindset Matters, and I'm all about mindset. However, um, I have found in talking to whether it's fitness people or financial people or people who are dealing with uh, retail or whatever it is,
Mm,
mindset always comes up as number one. That
yep,
if you don't have the right mindset, it just isn't going to make anything work. And yet people kind of poo poo mindset. They say, what? It can't be all about mindset. But I really believe it is. And I really
I
believe
do.
it's how you look at things and how you approach things. So I want to ask you, because people ask me, and of course my answer is, well, there were no women in business when I got started.
Mm.
What have you found as a woman working in the financial industry? What have you found as a woman entrepreneur? What have you found as someone who is, over 50 and responsible financially for herself, what do you find are the issues? Are there problems with dealing with men? Do you find that men get an upper hand? What's your position on that?
Well, I guess having been involved with my dad's business, and he gave me some leeway. Um, from there, yeah, in the banking industry, I have to say it's men dominated, but I was respected. I guess maybe because I commanded it. And from a banking industry, um, being in, I like working with men. I prefer working with men actually because there aren't any mind games, and I guess because I've been working, for so long and being an entrepreneur that, I'm not here to play games with anybody. I just want a win-win situation. So I don't feel like I'm trying to think of maybe a couple times I did not feel totally comfortable when I had doctors as clients. I remember not feeling totally respected, and I didn't like that. So the relationship wasn't a long-term relationship, um, even though I would assert myself in a professional way. But other than that, I don't feel, because I've been an entrepreneur and been out there in the business world, working world for so long. I hold my own. I don't feel any suppression being around a man. Sometimes I'll have to think to myself, the way I'm feeling, but then I will still assert, my communication so a man can hear me, because we do have different styles. But I prefer, working with men. Not that I don't like working with women. It's just in my experience up to today, that's how I feel.
It's interesting because you said men don't play games, and it's interesting because the difference is, if something doesn't work out for a guy, he says, well, it didn't work out and I'm going to try something else. Whereas when a woman has something that doesn't work out, she very often blames herself.
Sure.
And so, there's a whole different philosophy on how males and females approach different things. And men don't apologize if something goes wrong. They just get on with it.
Yeah.
And women do a lot of apologizing. So it's interesting. I know that I've said this before on air, that I'm sure that I have been sexually harassed, but I just didn't know it because I was either so naive or I just so ignored it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just, well, okay,
Yeah.
okay, whatever.
I
And
I get it.
yeah, so it's interesting because again, it's your mindset. It's, you don't let anything stop you. You do the best job you can. You're dealing in ethics and integrity, and if somebody else isn't, that is not your problem. It is their problem. However, sometimes when they do something to you, it does have an effect on how you are dealing and having something work out. But in the end, it usually, like you bounced back, we all bounce back. So it's interesting uh, to look at all of this. So if you could give words of wisdom to our listeners and say, okay, all this stuff has happened to you in the past. You've been through a divorce or two divorces or three divorces. You've lost your money because you made a bad investment or you were taken advantage of, or in the divorce, your husband got everything. They always say the wife gets everything, but that's not true. And so you've been left with very little. You had to raise kids on your own. Are not highly educated. You don't have a master's or a PhD or even sometimes a BA. What would you suggest to these women who might be in that circumstance?
Well, first of all, I was an RH baby. I had to fight for my life coming onto this planet, so I know it's made me spunky. And and if you don't know what an RH baby is, it's when your father's positive, your mother's negative. And back then, when they cut the cord on the third child, my blood was dying. It was going bad. So they had to transfuse my blood as just, within hours of birth. So I know that's affected me. And I'm also dyslexic. And I know that's gotten in my way. But getting back to the mindset, I wanted to kind of dissect this a little bit because you know what? Mindset covers your emotional response and your mental response and your spiritual and your body. I mean, it's having that balance. But the emotional part, we as women, I know, well, I don't do it anymore as it doesn't serve my health. But, stuffing things in is not healthy. So emotionally speaking, you need to deal with your emotions. You need to deal, and sometimes you just have to say, okay, that's the way I feel. Let's move on. I was really depressed. I don't really get depressed very often, but I allow myself to feel depression when I do get it. And it doesn't happen very often, thank God, because I think my core base is spiritually based. And but the mindset part of it is like, it gets out of balance because of emotions. And I think, women just need to deal more with their emotions and, heal. You need to heal that. You need to do some work. It's not easy living in this lifetime. You got to be able to work. You got to be able to, you know, keep going, keep going. And
Well, that is so true. I mean, no one's going to take care of you but you. But let's go ahead and because we're coming down to the close of the show, let's tell people how they can reach you, Cheryl, and how to get in touch with you. And if you have anything that you'd like to offer to our
yeah,
listeners, certainly we're open to that. So
yeah.
tell us where to find you.
Okay. Well, you can get on YouTube, and my channel is Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. You can go to my email directly, and it's Dr. as in doctor, Cheryl, Cheryl. The last name is S as in Sam, Cheurer at gmail.com. And you can also go to my website, which is www.cherylscheurer.com. I'm in the process of getting that Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl online. You can get on my website, and on the far bottom left corner, you put in your information, contact information, and I have a book called Wealth Transformation. It's actually kind of a metaphysical approach to finance, and it's also practical. Um, and I will be happy to share a book for just the postage, and that's it. That's it. So
Well, there's certainly enough ways to get a hold of you, Cheryl. So let's go over those just one more time. Her website is www.cheryl, which is Cheryl. Sure, well, it's Shire pronounced, but it's SCHEURER.com. Her email, if you want to send her an email, is Dr. period Cheryl Scherer Scheurer at gmail.com.
oh, and
And
there's
her
no period after the doctor.
Oh, no period after
No,
the doctor.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Dr. Dr. Cheryl then. And her YouTube is Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. So be in touch with her and let her know what's happening. And by the way, I have a new quiz out. Some of you might want to take it and see where you are. That may help you as well because it goes into a little bit of everything. And if you go to SOB, for Spunky Old Broad, SOBquiz.com, you can take it, get some feedback. I can help you with the results and tell you what it means. I would be more than happy to have you take that. So SOBquiz.com. So you've got a lot of things. And remember, if you go to Cheryl's website, there's a place for you to get her book. And for just the cost of postage, you can have it sent to you. And I think that's pretty good myself. So, Cheryl, we have about 30 seconds left. Is there anything that you would like to leave our audience with?
Well, I just, hope for the best and blessings for all of your listeners. And Gayle, it's been a total pleasure, and thank you. I honor you and appreciate you for what you're doing out there in humanity. And thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, thank you. We loved having you. And again, everybody, don't forget to be in touch with Dr. Cheryl. Thanks so much.